empathic reader. And so what I do is I work with people who are busy moms and business owners um, who really want to follow their dreams, go for that life they've always longed for, but they feel really bogged down by taking care of everybody else's needs. They just don't even know how or where to start. So I love taking them and showing them the path to manifesting all the things they want for themselves, for their families, for if they have the business, all of it. And they can find me on Facebook and Instagram, and my handle is at the Surreal Dawn. They can also email me directly, same, thesurrealdawn@gmail.com. And all of my links can be found through either one of those platforms, and we can schedule a quick call, talk about what you're going through. But more importantly than all that, I'm also a wife and a mom of 3. And just in case I wasn't keeping busy enough, I homeschool my oldest 2. So we're just about to have a kindergarten graduate, and somebody else is finishing up first grade. And in the background, we have a not quite 2-year-old running around, making sure that he keeps us on our toes. So life stays busy. But that is exactly why I love working with moms, because there's never a free minute. Any parent knows there's never a free minute for yourself, let alone for the things you want to do with your life. But that shouldn't be something that holds you back. It should be something that motivates you to find creative time pockets so you can show your kids a different way.
Perfect. So I know for me growing up, I wish, Elizabeth, that I was homeschooled, because in the beginning I had such a bad experience in my early ages in school, but I survived. I fought the good fight, and here I am today. I don't know if I survived it, but I definitely am here today. So take us through the genesis of how you started this, because I know for me, not a lot of parents homeschool their children when I was growing up. Seems to be more common now, but let us know why you decided to do this and how it actually benefits you as well as your family.
Well, thank you. That's a rife topic. It is very much becoming a more popular, a more supported, a more encouraged method of education now to homeschool. Alternative learning styles are becoming very, very much more accepted. For my family, even before we'd had kids, we were thinking that traditional public school may not be the route we wanted to go. I also had a really bad experience in my early school years, in my first grade experience. So bad, in fact, that my parents decided to hold me back and repeat first grade. And it was not through anything I had done. This teacher had had multiple complaints and nothing had been done. And the school district tried to tell my parents that I was actually mentally deficient and would never be able to attend school properly, and they should consider special education for me. To which my mother replied, I'm taking her to a child psychologist and I'm having her professionally evaluated, and we will go from there. And they've discovered I was actually gifted and bored in school and all of these things. So I ended up in advanced programs. But it definitely impacted my belief in my own abilities. That was such a formative thing to go through. It's such a, I mean, first grade is where you're supposed to be getting all these foundational things. And I have vivid memories of my teacher handing me a math book and saying, figure it out, read the instructions and do the work. And she would never come around and actually teach. And you're in first grade, you're not necessarily such a grasp on your reading skills yet, let alone the cognitive ability to like figure out all of these advanced addition and subtraction things. It just, so to this day, I struggle with my mathematics. I'm okay at it, but I have zero confidence in it a lot of the time because of that. So that really got my husband and I thinking about how much damage the wrong teacher can do, even in a great school district. And then COVID, the thing that rocked all our worlds, came along right when my eldest was about to go into kindergarten. So we knew there was no way virtual kindergarten was going to be successful for her. We already had some ideas that she was different. She has since been diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, and we're getting support for her now. But at the time, we didn't have anything set up for that. So we decided we'd wait because she was on the higher end of the lower end of the age range. So we didn't need to start her. And then the next year rolled around and COVID was still with us. And we said, Okay, they're going back in person now. There's no way it's going to stay. So we're just going to bite the bullet and go with online homeschooling options. And thank goodness we did, because they were in, they were out, they were in, they were out. They had so many teachers leave. And this is a problem that I don't think enough people are talking about right now in public schools. The teacher to student ratio is insane. It's commonly accepted that one teacher should have 35 plus students in their class. How in the ever loving anything is one teacher supposed to take care of that many kids? How are they supposed to give support to the gifted ones, to give extra nurturing to the ones who are struggling, and to let the ones who are in the middle not get lost entirely? It, it, it's just, it boggles my mind. And then COVID happens and people draw a line in the sand, and they are either committed to continuing teaching and they believe in vaccination, or they are committed to their right to choose and they leave the profession because they're not going to be dictated to. But here now we have an even bigger problem. Less teachers, still the same number of students. How is that supposed to work? So we were very fortunate to have the option to keep our kids at home. I was at home already, so it was not a hardship for our family, thankfully. And it's been a beautiful experience. I never wanted to be a teacher. I did not have the patience. I wanted to just be mom. I still would like to be just mom. But watching them learn, watching them gain a new ability to master a new word, a new sight word, to read a book that looked really complicated at first and know they sounded out those words, to watch them grasping a mathematical concept and being so proud and excited to share it with me. Those moments are beautiful, and I'm so blessed to have them. And I'm so grateful that there are so many of these programs available now. Ours is actually considered a public school. Our kids are enrolled through a public district, but we get to do it online. And there's support through virtual live lessons, and there's actual curriculum laid out that I can follow. But we have a lot of flexibility in our schedule. If my oldest is having a hard time with her focus or her attitude, we can pause and we can do something else, and we can get up and get moving, and we can come back to it when she's in a better state of mind. If my little guy gets hangry and nobody can hear anything they're doing, we can take a break and everybody can have a snack, and then we can come back to it. And if there's a day where we're all just not feeling it, I mean, the sunshine's out right now. We have all got summer on the mind. We can take the day. We can go and play in the park, and we can use that as like a science. We can talk about the science of the sun and how it's warming up the earth and the seasons and things. And all of that beautiful educational stuff counts. So we're really strong believers in the system.
For me, growing up, my experience in elementary school was I grew up without my mother or my father, and I was spending a lot of time the first 5 years with my grandmother. So when I came to the city that my parents were in, I didn't really know them. I knew my grandmother because that was a person that raised me. So when they put me to school, I was experiencing what many people would call separation anxiety, right? So I wasn't as social as a child that age would be, because especially boys, right? They're running around, they have all this energy. And the school thought that maybe there was something wrong with me because I wasn't social. So to your point, no one was asking questions and trying to maybe dig a little bit deeper. It was just, this child isn't speaking like the other boys. There must be something maybe physically or mentally wrong, instead of it being something else. And I was always an advocate that if I would have children, I would either put them in a private school or tutor, like a one-on-one session, or it would do a homeschooling, because I just found the experience, especially lately. And you mentioned a good point with COVID. The last couple of years, we saw people in a different light. Many of the people that we saw as heroes, the nurses, the teachers, things like that, they were being overwhelmed. And some of them were thinking, maybe it isn't worth it, because they have to protect their health as well. So when you decided on this path, Elizabeth, was a transition for you difficult? Or is it something that you decided that, hey, I need to make sure I know what I'm doing because there's people who are depending on me to make sure that they're set up for success.
So the transition to homeschooling or beginning my business?
Homeschooling and then your business.
Oh, okay. So we can do both. Incredibly difficult, incredibly difficult. The transition was difficult on me. It was difficult on my kids. Our home space, which had always been their free space to play, to have fun, to relax, now became this dual purpose. Now there were times where they were expected to sit down and actually sit and learn, and they couldn't just get up when they were done. They couldn't just run and go grab the book they wanted because now was our time to be doing math. And they couldn't watch or listen to the music. They couldn't be on their tablet. We had ABC Mouse, still have it, in advance, and they couldn't just go play the games. They couldn't just ask for a movie. They couldn't just ask for, music. Now they actually had to sit and do these structured lesson plans, and it was hard on them. It was hard on me. The learning curve to being a homeschooling parent is rough. There are a ton of social support groups for parents who decide to homeschool because it is insane. We do not ask a teacher to walk into the classroom. We don't hand them a manual and say, here you go teach these kids. They go through years of education, certification, job shadowing before they are put in a classroom and here you go, mold these young minds. So there's a huge struggle with that whole imposter syndrome thing that comes up, which was a mindset thing I had to work past. In the who am I to try and teach my kids the very foundations of what is going to be their academic life? Who am I to give them this structure, this basic knowledge? And at the same time, who am I not to trust myself to do it? I'm their parent. I had no idea what I was doing when I brought them home from the hospital either, but I figured it out. It's terrifying, the job titles we take on. But any parent knows what is right for your kid is what you're going to do. No matter how hard it is, no matter how inconvenient, no matter how much you may sit and cry in the bathroom on some hard days, you're going to do what you've got to do because that is what your kids need from you. And in a lot of ways, it's the same thing when I started my business. I didn't start my business because I had all this free time. I have zero time. It was funny because I was actually talking to someone the other day and she asked me, what do you do for fun? And that was my response. I just kind of stared at her and we both started laughing because there are things I enjoy. There are things I'll get back to as this season of my life transitions into something where I do have more me time. And I mean, I take time for me. I do. I have morning rituals and routines that help center my life. That's a big thing that I work with my clients on. So it's definitely something I practice what I preach. And I don't think I would survive if I didn't have that time to exercise, to journal, to visualize the good things, to sit in gratitude for a while in the morning, to get my head right before the insanity ensues with all three of my little loves. I've had days where that wasn't the case and it was no good. So all of these things that I've learned about mindset, about really balancing my life in the healthiest ways for myself so that I can model it for my kids have brought us through the rough times of starting homeschooling autistic to kindergartner from the ground up, from adding in her sister to the mix while our baby brother is running around making things interesting, transitioning through the COVID fun times, and then transitioning into my business, coming into all of this as well. My business came very much from my own journey, my own story. I came from a place where I had fallen into over 6 years of a severe clinical depression. And we were not in a place where I could go to therapy, where I could get medication. I was still a stay-at-home mom. I didn't trust the antidepressants when I had no one else there to back me up. So it lasted a really long time. It was an incredibly dark place. It was a struggle for all of us. Thank goodness for my husband, because without him, I don't know what would have happened. There were some days where I could not get the energy to do more than give the kids snacks Here's your breakfast, here's your snack. I didn't even eat because I didn't have the energy after I was done with that to help them. I put on some TV for them and that was it. That was all I could manage. And I hate that. I hate that time. But anyone who's experienced depression will know it's just this weight and it just covers your entire life and your entire self. And you know that it's not what you want. You know what it would take to get up and make yourself feel better. Maybe even just a shower would change a lot of your day, but you just can't get past that heavy depression state. And I started to come out of it with the mindset tools I had learned when I had my first health and fitness journey, because I lost over 100 pounds and kept it off when I had my first two children. And then I failed to set good boundaries with somebody, which is what led to the domino effect that landed me in my depression. So I started coming out of my depressive state when I had my third child. And at the same time, my intuition unlocked on this incredibly deeper level. And I started getting a lot of signals, signs, synchronicities that were pointing me in the direction that this was not just a gift for me, but that's something I needed to share. And it wasn't just going to be about reading tarot cards or oracle cards or pendulums and giving people the answers in the moment. It was going to be about taking everything that I had been through in that depressive state, everything I had learned in my first fitness journey, everything I had understood about mindset, and putting it all together and showing other people the way to come from those darkest places, those incredibly frustrating ruts that your life gets into, and bridge that gap into something better for yourself, your family, your business, all of the circles. It was time for me to go that route, whether I had time for it or not. And it's been a huge blessing, just like homeschooling. Sure, it's hard. Sure, it's frustrating. Sure, it's not always a direct line, but each of those things has enriched all of our families so much. And it's so inspiring to know that I'm showing my kids living a life of choice.
So for those who are watching along on Facebook, YouTube, and my social media, please subscribe for more wonderful interviews like the one we have with Elizabeth. And we will be back for